This is not Miquella, rather a filler or some sort of perversion. When unpacking the game and searching the character file, there's no ID or anything to be found about this demigod. Also, when in the map studio, selecting and highlighting the cocoon, what I found, well, it made sense. Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good day, I hope you're doing alright. Miquella the Unalloyed. Who is this undefined character? He's probably the most mysterious and thought-provoking of all the game. With little information we have, let's dive a little into his story, my thoughts, interpretation, and theory. Do note, spoilers ahead, and take this with a grain of salt as it's all speculation, as Elden Ring's lore is a bit elusive. So in the end, I could be wrong, but hey, let's talk about it. With all this being said, sit back, relax, grab something good, eat, drink, and let's learn a little bit more about this afflicted chosen. In your search of the Elden Ring, you'll first hear this demigod from Sir Gideon. While asking about the remaining Shardbearers, Gideon will mention his name.
There are 4 more demigods yet to be located. Miquella of the Halig Tree, the Unalloyed, his twin, Melania, the undefeated swordswoman, and the one only known as the Lord of Blood.
Further in your adventure, you'll acquire a secret medallion and the second location of the other half, unknowingly a key leading to his domain. The far east, in the mountains of the clouds, lay a castle, whom an old commander holds the key within his grasp. Once the soul's veteran has been slayed, the second medallion is yours. Not far from our eyesight, we can see a ghost reaching out to the sky, asking Miquella for forgiveness. A failed attempt to summon an eclipse symbolic of Miquella's goal. Bringing both the medallions to Gideon, he then reveals all that he knows.
So the secret medallions led you to the land of the Halig Tree. I'd expect to find Melania there. She who fought Radahn to a standstill. Well, if the scarlet rot hasn't eaten her away completely. But with the Halig Tree as it is, I suppose Miquella must already be. My apologies. Lost myself for a moment there.
With both secret medallions coming together create a key, leading you to the great lift. Here the platform will descend onto the concentrated snowfields. The road, hidden in snow and vision dulled, a map will read, the route through this land leads to Miquella's Halig Tree. This path taken by those unchosen, through it is a trial all the same. Amongst the mist you'll reach a town, occupied with women on wolves roaming the region. Finding an altar, it'll transfer you to an alternate instance of the town. Solve the puzzle by lighting the 4 figures. There you'll be given access to a waygate, teleporting you to a canal on a great branch overlooking the Elpal. In biblical terms, God's work, Miquella's Halig Tree. A wondrous sight, a city and size of the Erd Tree, but brought to life. The enormous branches stretching out are filled with envoy singing a symphony of lost purpose. Although beautiful, it is yet spoiled, ridden with rot and decay, a true hallmark of this world's way. Continuing, you'll encounter opposition, and return will lead you to the divine city, or what's left of it. Regardless of its state, the residents still stay, resilient, devoted, and in servitude. Statues of a child held by another, cocoons layered, tied, and scattered, the scarlet rot flowing through. Seeping deeper within its roots, you'll reach the Halig Tree, guarded by who? Melania, Blade of Miquella, the demigod's twin sister, the undefeated. Once the scarlet flower has its final bloom, we see Miquella has been snatched from his cocoon, remnants of his form embedded into the Halig Tree. Gideon will say the following.
So, the Halig Tree, now but a husk. I heard speculation Miquella embedded himself in the Halig tree. But before he could finish, someone cut the tree open and absconded with his infant form. Indeed, it seems those words held weight. How vexing that the All-Knowing didn't have the full story. Perhaps the Queen's sorrow was justified.
Following our new given trace, we'll reach the palace ground of the Lord of Blood. We learn the grim fate of this demigod, Mohg polluting Miquella's body with his blood, a sick plan to consort the husk and furthering his ambition to build his dynasty. Sharing with Gideon about the discovery of Miquella's remains, this concludes the Tarnish's story with the Unalloyed.
I see. So Miquella was with the Lord of Blood after all. That is some fine intelligence indeed. With it, the final clue has been brought into the light. One of the last few pieces of the round table. I need to put everything together.
But who is he in the lands between? Where does he belong? His plan, his purpose. Learning more about Miquella, I believe his goals become clear. Born to a single god, he and his sister afflicted with a disease by those above. He sought to cure his sister, in return deny the outer gods, abandoning all means of fundamentalism of the Golden Order, as it could not serve what he needed. Therefore began the creation of unalloyed gold, a practice to heal and purify those mistreated by the greater will, a means to stave off any intervention of the outer gods, whether it be removing the taint of the god of chaos or curing scarlet rot. Miquella built the Halig tree as a place of haven for those graceless, salvation and care, a replacement in opposition to the Earth tree. We learn Miquella is adored and heavily admired among the majority. Being aware of this, he bled onto his favorite lily, spurring the Halig tree. Knowing his story, it makes you wonder what could have been. And this leads to my theory. I do not believe this is Miquella. I have two primary reasons as to why. There's the technical and then there's the lore. Starting with the lore, you could argue it's actually not Miquella's body in the cocoon. One, we can see Mohg physically stripped him from the cocoon, and then later in the palace we see he's in another egg. The second, which I think holds more credence, is the evolution of the body. When evaluating the figure, it doesn't equate to Miquella's features. Observing, we can see similarities of that of an omen, and we know Mohg was transmuting his blood into the body, and Mohg himself is an omen, so that would make sense. However, Miquella is a pure Empyrean. This is a race selected by the greater will. His blood did hold great power, and on top of that, he was cursed with eternal childhood. I'm not sure if curses can overlap one another, but then again, both are offspring of Queen Marika, so it's possible they would have the same gene that could be mutated. My true theory is that it may be his body, but that is all. A husk, an empty shell that could be shedded, as I believe his spirit and soul transcended into the Halig tree, as we can see the bark taking the shape of his physical form. It's possible there may be other bodies or varieties of Miquella, as we can see cocoons spread throughout the city, kind of acting as a means of resurrection. This is a common trait in other mythologies of that of the Chosen One. I believe his current presence has moved beyond the lands between, his physical manner ascending to something more of an entity rivaling the outer gods. What better way to defeat a god than to become one? This aligns also with his creation of unalloyed gold. I believe this isn't necessarily a material or actual gold, but more of an energy, something of an action or means of execution. Now moving on to the technical reasons, when you fully unpack the game, you can search within the character files. This contains their actions, their models, and textures. There's nothing identified as Miquella. Note, there are a few characters who may have 2 or more files. For instance, Morgott and Morgott's dead body are two separate models, but there's no trace of Miquella anywhere. The other, when exploring in Map Studio, which you can view, identify, and manipulate objects, it can be used as a modding tool. When you select and highlight the cocoon, you'll see two models, but they're not labeled characters or identified as characters. They're assets, which are objects, literally just filler put into the egg. Normally you'd want to list it as a character or something with existing. This will lead me into my thoughts about how he may play a part in potential DLC. I think this model or this body may transform into a villain or some type of monster that the Tarnished will have to fight. But the true Miquella was still present and remained pure, giving this duality an interesting dynamic of good and evil. Ultimately, I don't believe Miquella's future is over, and hopefully we'll see a little bit more of his influence fleshed out in future content. In the end, it's just a theory, and I can end up being completely wrong, but it's a fun conversation to be had nonetheless. Let me know, you agree, you disagree? I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, subscribe, and check out my other Elden Ring videos. Until then, I will see you guys next weekend. Take care.